G'day and welcome to the next episode of Tech Adapt Crafts. Today is the part 2 of modular gaming tables. Now I did the last one, I think back in January maybe. This is a long time coming. I've had this particular piece sitting around waiting to be used. Managed to get some time to put this board together and actually get it ready. Great impetus when you actually need to use it in a game. And so this past week, this board has been built and painted, and that was for a game which I was running on Saturday night. This was the final board for my D&D campaign that's been running for 5 years now, and it was a really close call to get it finished. But I'm very happy with how it's turned out. All right, so let's have a look. What have we got? Modular table. This can actually be set up a number of ways, and you can have all manner of combinations here. This is just the first 2 boards that I have made, and you can put them together in a number of different ways so far. That's giving you a lot of options. There is also the option that you can just do the 2 hills together. Now, you may notice that this hill is a little bit warped. I was really under the pump for getting this done quickly, so I thought, great idea, I'll put this out in the sun just to dry quickly when we did the Mod Podge. That bad idea. Bad idea. 37-degree heat, and it just warped. So that is a problem that I'm just going to have to live with. I may end up going to make another one, but for the moment, it'll do. Right, these little crystals come from Custom Miniature Maker, Simon over there in England. This was a file from his Free File Friday. They were fantastic to create a little pentagram here in this Hellscape that was leeching power, leeching life from the characters whenever they stepped inside that, and then redistributed it back to the bad guys. We also have a set of crystals here which came from Custom Miniature Maker, and these were ones that I painted up for Simon as a test paint for how they would go. I wanted to do yellow crystals because I've never done that before. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Then we have from Printable Scenery, and this came from their Dwarves, Elves and Demons Kickstarter a number of years ago, and this was from the Hellscape. And when I was doing up a Hellscape, it was really a no-brainer to pick out some of the pieces. I really didn't get time to finish printing a huge number of the pieces or cleaning them all up, but this was just a small scattering that I got done for this. And instead of lava pools, I did do these up as blood pools. I was originally looking at doing a lava board. I've gone with the blood board right at the end, A, because I ran out of time to turn it into a lava board. Oh well, so let's change the idea. But 2, the idea of it being the Balor that was collecting souls to fuel his army, I thought, well, a blood river. I like that. That's actually really cool. So I went with a blood river. Now I have a plan for how to actually turn this into a lava river, but the blood pools are just going to stay as they are. All right, so to continue the modular theme, these hills are removable. They can be, I haven't even tried this. They could even be placed one on top of the other and used to create an even larger component. Now, obviously, the warping on the bottom one has created an issue for that. I've really got to see if I can either bend it back or maybe just create a new one. What I might be able to do is to cut it up and reposition it down. I don't know how I'm going to fix that. I might just have to do a new piece and just use that for something else. But these hills, yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with how that all goes in together. And it all comes to this top piece, which this part, as I said in the previous video for modular trains, this comes from Thingiverse, and it's just scaled up to some sort of ridiculously large percentage, because it is meant to be just a small skull. And then the central piece that goes through actually is also from Printable Scenery, and it is a Caverns to Dungeon connector piece, so you can actually have this on its own and going into a dungeon. I really like that idea, so happy to try that one out later. But I love how this is a standalone piece on its own, and I can put that anywhere else I like on the board, and that's the only bit that I really need. Cool, love that. And these, without having the hills stacked on top, that's a pretty easy way to pack and store those two boards. They are thick, but you know what? Trying to store them with the hills on top, nah, that was going to be a nightmare. These should be able to store fairly easily. A little bit big, but that's okay. I can live with that. I can live with that. It's a lot easier to store that when they're separate than if they were going to be on top, because I can make more boards, stack all of this up all together, and that packs fairly well. We're doing some simple two-sided hills. Now these have been shaped and contoured the exact same way as I've done the rest of that, so you'll see that in the video. But these ones, we just didn't get time to finish off, and they're just some simple hills, but they go two-sided. If you want to stack up, you can have any number of layers going up on top of these, or you can have them link together. And so there we go. You can create another hill or another layer to this hill. Where did the shapes come from? The offcuts from the rivers. Why waste it? It's all there, it's all good. Just put them together, make your next set of hills. If you like these ideas, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on your notification button so that you don't miss any further updates from TAC. And I'd love to see you over on Patreon as the latest member of the Tech Adept Craft group there on Patreon. That is patreon.com/techadeptcrafts. Don't forget that our Patreon, while it does support me to a small extent, we are using it to support Anala and the wonderful work that organization does for people with disabilities and providing housing and opportunities for them. Every month you get an STL file from Iain Lovecraft and a painting tutorial from me, a number of other craft projects or the building projects, painting projects that I do during the month. Sit back, enjoy the video, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Cheers, guys.
First things first, take out my little D&D campaign book and I'll turn to the map that I have designed for this scenario, and I start sketching that out on the block of foam that I'm going to use. I see how it all fits in that large format and measure things out so that they will match up to the other boards. Using my Proxon Hot wire cutter, I then cut out the river pieces and the sections that are going to be there, and then use a smaller handheld hot wire cutter to shape the edges of this. And here's where I started to make a mistake. I should have done the texturing before I glued it down, but just skipped that step and had to go do it later. I am using hot glue around the outside and PVA glue on the inside. I could use just PVA glue, that'd be enough, but as I need this to stick down fast, I am using hot glue on the edges. For the hill piece, I am cutting this out roughly, not onto the line, but roughly, so I can then shape it with the hot wire cutter. Now you may notice as I'm using that hot wire cutter, I do sort of have a bit of a shaky motion to it. That's deliberate to get that wavy line pattern in the edge of the hill. And for the second layer of the hill, I'm doing a small gap for the river to flow down, a bit like a waterfall. Trying something new for the texture, that is a ball of aluminium foil rolled up to act like a big rock.
Well, don't know if I'm doing this the right way or not. These have sort of shredded. I've got little bits everywhere. My hand is now pink. I think I'm going to have to find a better way to do that. The effect is great. I'm really liking that, but I don't know that this is the best way to do it. So, for the next pieces, I don't know whether to keep going and destroy the other hand or try and find a better way. I think I'll try and find a better way. If not, 2 hands down. Great. All right. Cheers.
Yeah, I still haven't found a better way, but I'll keep looking. All the hills and things are now textured, including on the edges, and just softening all of that. And I'm now building up the entrance, much more economical to use an offcut to find that rather than take out the corner of a full piece of foam. This layers up into 2 layers as well, just to give that height. It's all starting to come together. Now to see how that skull is going to fit onto the entrance. I'm going to pin these two together with a piece of dowel. That'll give it a lot of strength. So I have to drill a couple of holes in there. It is always scary when you take a power tool to a 3D print, but hey, you've got to do what you've got to do. So create some holes in the skull, create some holes in the top of that archway, and pin it together. They are now really nice and secure. Then just using offcuts of foam, I am filling out the gaps as much as possible. I am going to use Sculptamold though and really fill it out, but rather than have it very heavy with that Sculptamold, I use the foam to start with. We now just fill the gaps, try and make it look as though the skull and the entrance there have been carved out of the mountainside. Now I know I'm going to cop it from Joe over at Encounter Terrains, but I'm using Mod Podge here with black paint mixed in to coat all of the foam. Yes, using PVA glue would be a lot cheaper. This just then gets a heavy grey dry brush over the top and then a fairly light white dry brush just on the edges. To finish off the painting for this, I am airbrushing this Lenny's red into all of that blood river. And that was pretty much all I had time for, because I was still painting this red as my players were arriving. Now that's fresh. Don't forget, if you would like to support the channel and to support the Anala Foundation in the process, you can jump on over to Patreon and join A Coin for the Bard, or become one of the Hobby Goodness members there and receive the STL file each month, along with other goodies that we do starting from February. But if you'd like to really support the channel, become one of the full tacklers. I'd really like to thank these guys. Their support this month has been just overwhelming. Andreas Rocco, David Bennett, David Scaberis, Ian and Tig O'Connell, Jean Maguire, Joel Cunningham, Judy Hayes, Kent Rutherford, Christina B, Lopiana, Nightlurker, Riri, Sean McKinley, and Toggers. Guys, from the bottom of my heart, you guys have been legendary this month. Thank you so much. And there is the board set, ready for the game. We have fiends galore, we have crystals that fire, electrical bolts, we have the party entering in through a portal, and it was glorious. Had so much fun building this, but the game itself was an epic climax for a 6-year campaign. Not 5, it was 6 years. I'd like to thank my players for joining me in this journey. It was a really cool one, and campaign 2 is already underway. Don't forget, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next videos. Cheers, guys.